Welcome back to episode 43 of the Xbox North podcast. This week we discuss Microsoft expanding further into the cloud department with opening up a new division under Microsoft Studios. We also discuss Diablo IV, and we get a bit of an update on that. It's looking really good. We see Sony actually finally unveiled their competitor to GamePass, and it's kind of lackluster. But with that out of the way, please like and share and subscribe to this show. Dan, how are you today? How's your week going? Haven't seen you much this week, actually.
Yeah, I've been busy helping the parents out and everything. They're moving recently, so just gotta help them out a bit and make sure that gets all done. And gotta go over and fix a couple more things tonight or tomorrow night, and should be all done there. But yeah, I've been getting into a few little games here and there wherever I can, and we ended up buying Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It's been pretty
I'm
cool.
jealous.
Yeah.
It looks really cool. How's it run?
It runs really nice. And like I got the Assault on Dragon Keep first to try that out and kind of see what the concept was like. And I didn't get super far in that, but it was very much a different experience even. It was like it was just more colorful, it ran better, it looked nicer, like it was cool. And it's been really fun so far. Even like the girls, we do let them watch a bit. They get all excited at the colors and stuff, and of course Queen Butt Stallion.
But I hear the game is actually pretty kid appropriate this time around, opposed to like, let's say, the writing of the actual Borderlands series. It's almost like this was kind of made for like a 12 or 13-year-old, or having your 9-year-old in the room like wouldn't hurt or anything.
Yep.
So
yeah, exactly.
The writing seems a lot more lighthearted.
Yeah, it's cool. You got like magic powers and everything, and you get a special ability to use too. So I became the Stabomancer, which just like throws out like a big like shadow blade that can like spin around and everything. And apparently, I can turn invisible and everything. I just gotta start unlocking more abilities.
Yeah, and I hear they also add gear to the game instead of just like weapons.
Yeah,
you kind of get into that a bit. Like, what does gear bring to the Borderlands like formula?
So it's all basically like it's kind of like Borderlands before. Like you get like an artifact sort of thing, and like I haven't gotten too much more outfit wise just yet, but I know all the weapons and everything. I'll get like different bonuses and everything. They got some pretty crazy different guns going on. I got one that just shoots like a big wave of bullets across that all freeze stuff. And if I hit something, it's like a full auto gun. And then I can just like, if I hit something enough times with it, then it just freezes into a solid block and I can smash it. And so there's a lot more,
naturally,
especially, yeah, exactly. And on some of the classes, there's a lot more melee abilities than there kind of was before, at least more of a focus, because there's lots of perks to up your class and like focus them on the like melee side of things. Like there kind of was in the other games, I guess too. But it's just like, I don't know. It seems like a little more fun. It's a little more expanded and stuff.
Did you play Borderlands 3?
Yep.
So I heard I didn't have the pleasure of playing Borderlands 3, but I hear compared to 2 and 3, they add things like you can slide, you can mantle and stuff like that. So there's a lot more like kind of
that's in Tiny Tina's too. Yeah,
as well. So yeah, it keeps.
And I love that. It's nice to be able to like especially because there's a lot more verticality to it now too. Like I remember in the early Borderlands games, it was cool to try and find something like up on a house, but it was very difficult to get there. And they've kind of used that system to make it a lot easier for you.
Nice. And I was seeing some gameplay of it. They have really interesting reload animations. Like I saw this one gun that almost looked like it was a bucket filled with crystals, and you like salt bay like the top of the gun to like sprinkle whatever magic into it. So it seems pretty interesting. So.
Oh yeah, the gun I was telling you about earlier too, with like the wave bullets, like it's got a cool animation right on the end of the gun. It's just like runes spinning on it, so it looks like it's like a magic bullet gun.
Nice. And how far do you think you're in? Or just kind of right at the beginning?
Oh, I'm
so
like
busy.
still very early on. Like I've been sticking mostly to playing with Lanta because she's been getting into playing this game at least. Yeah. And it's been cool. We got like a couple levels in, but yeah, the girls like playing some video games too. So they played a bit of Townscaper, and my youngest absolutely loved that. Had towers going up to the ceiling. I was trying to get them to get me some achievements and everything.
Yeah. Maybe I'll show that to Oliver.
Yeah,
maybe I'll show that to my son because like he's just he's honestly not really into games, which I find surprising.
It takes some time. It's hard for them sometimes too, right? Like these ones are like that's where I've been looking for like much simpler games, especially for my youngest to play. Like trying to get into like Fogs because it's a very simplistic like you each control a head or you do co-pilot mode and you can help them do all the puzzles and everything. And I found that kind of worked the best because like as much as like it's a simplistic game, it still gets complicated enough that it requires a little bit more thought, and her hands really just aren't quite big enough for the controllers just yet. I have like a smaller controller for her, but it's still like a struggle to get her to like reach the triggers and the like joysticks and everything at the same time.
So let's rant a little bit on that. Like people who make controllers, please make an Xbox controller that's wireless that is made for children's hands. Like that like you put all this money into all these cheap ass crap controllers that no one would buy. How about you take that money and put it into a good child's controller? Also, I would love to see a game that comes out that is designed to teach children how to play a game, the fundamentals of like video games, and starting from like a super simplistic point and then kind of working up from there. I don't know. Part of me wants to show like maybe that town building game, or just because you can just kind of go crazy with it.
Oh yeah, well that was just it. Like you play co-pilot and you can kind of steer around where the camera's pointed at, and he just taps the button whenever he's ready to build a new building, and like you just build all sorts of crazy stuff. It's cool. It's really fun.
Yeah, that game would be great on a touchscreen. I've seen it. Probably was playing it for a bit. So yeah, that's cool.
It's cool.
Definitely want to play some Tiny Tina
too, and like Tiny Tina is awesome. It's definitely a lot more complex. Like I've thought about playing it with the oldest one, but I think it's still a bit much because there's a lot to read in there and everything. Could probably get her a little interested in it, maybe like eventually, but I think just to start out, it's like you have to kind of understand some of D&D too, right? Because it's based on D&D and Borderlands.
Yeah, for real. They're like, you rolled a 1. Or...
Yeah, there's not too many rolls right now. Like you find these 20-sided dice around, but it's got like the same class system as D&D, and like you have to pick out your skill levels for each of those too, and like so you have like dexterity and like strength and whatever, and stamina and like magic and stuff, and like they all control different like abilities for you, like how fast your magic regenerates or your health regenerates or how much health you have and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's cool. I'd be interested to show it to her eventually and see if she gets into it.
There you go. You watching anything interesting? I saw that Moon Knight is out.
Oh,
I think that came out today, actually.
We've been thankfully because we got some crave going on. We've been enjoying lots of Star Trek and everything, so we've been catching up on Picard and Discovery and everything. And I've actually been enjoying the Lower Decks.
Okay,
that one's funny, and it's
I haven't watched that.
It's so surprising. It's like it's very much. It's almost like Rick and Morty and like Star Trek. Like
Okay.
it's very like kind of a little more out
Kinda
there. Like
cheap.
you're following the crew that basically like cleans up after first contact.
Yeah.
'Cause, like,
Lower Deck.
yeah, all the other Star Trek shows are about like the first contact people. Like they did this first. They do
They
these
show
crazy
the
amazing things.
glamorous jobs. It's like
Yeah,
who cleans up,
exactly. And then
who's the maintenance worker, you know?
yeah, this one's all about the ones that have to go in and do all the paperwork and like talk with people, set up an embassy and stuff, and like they're doing all sorts of weird like out there missions and everything, and it's really coming back around to just like they're doing crazy stuff anyways. Like
Yeah.
it's they're not really doing that much boring cleanup stuff because they got to keep it interesting, right?
There you go.
It's good.
Well, I'm glad you're enjoying that. I was gonna say we got to figure out. So let's say I'm thinking about continuing to pay for Apple TV Plus because I'm actually enjoying their programming on there. But the only way to get Paramount Plus is through Apple TV Plus. So maybe I'll give you access to the Apple TV Plus, but you pay for, let's say after that trial is done, if we like the Paramount Plus there. So we're like, spreading that wealth, getting more subscription programs, because like that's the whole thing. Everyone's just like, there's so many subscription programs that it's like paying for cable. And I'm like, not if you like my sister, I think pays for the Netflix.
Yeah.
I pay for the Disney Plus and the Crave. And I guess my Amazon Prime, but that's part of, I don't know. Like, do you find like I watch the programming on Amazon Prime, but it's Prime just is something I always have. It's like your Costco membership, right?
Yeah, exactly. As much as I try and avoid using it, it's like it's convenient, and sometimes like especially where we are now, like you just can't find the stuff you're looking for exactly, except through something like Amazon Prime.
Or do I cancel my Disney Plus and use yours? It's just like there's so many things.
Or using like somebody else's.
yeah, right. So there you go. And
Right.
that's the benefit of watching stuff through these streaming services and whatnot. But I'm curious if Paramount Plus is any good. They got some interesting stuff on there.
I heard Netflix was testing like charging like an additional fee if they're detecting like you're outside of a certain home or something. Yeah, but I mean that
like, this one place has 7 IPs attached to it.
Yeah, like that's going to be very hard to enforce because like I mean like some people actually have like multiple homes and stuff. Like think of like kid of like a divorced parent or something. Like maybe they have their own Netflix account because their parents don't want to pay for it or whatever.
Yeah, how do you prove
that
it's legitimate, right? He's like, it's at my cottage and my, my house in the Hamptons and my California house, like,
or like watching it on your mobile phone. Like, how do you track that? Like when I'm like roaming
I have
around.
7 siblings.
Yeah.
It's like, stop sharing it with your siblings. They're my family.
Right?
This is a
like
family.
Commute on a train or something. Like.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how they actually handle that. But yeah, what did you get up to this week?
Oh, this week, not too much. Working, playing some games, getting further into Guardians of the Galaxy. That game is just absolutely awesome. Actually starting to see what the story is about. Kind of a religious cult sucking the faith out of people. There's one scene where you're on these like crazy platforms and you're going through this ship, and it's this this round, it's like massive, like because it's a massive ship, it's this huge round room that you're in, and you're floating from platform to platform, but everyone on the ground is like the whole floor is just filled with people like getting their energy sucked out of them. And then like when you finally look at it in detail, you're like, oh my god, those are all people down there. The game is just incredibly detailed. The graphics are probably some of the best graphics I've ever seen. in a game period. It's just awesome. And then like the combat just starts getting a little deeper and deeper, unlocking different moves. You start to like chain things together. Like I love when I see like a group of guys together, I use Groot to like lock them down, and then I use like Rocket to throw a grenade on them.
Heck yeah.
So you can do like really interesting stuff like that. And you learn like when there's like bad guys around you, just always melee attack them. Your melee's pretty strong in the game, which is interesting. And you do like combo moves with characters in your melee. So when you get to that last move, like Drax will come in and like slam them down, or like Box will come in. So there's a really good like synergy between the team, and there's a constant banter between them. And honestly, like the voice acting and the characters and the world is just as interesting, if not more, than the movies itself. So this is exactly what the Avengers game should have been. Like, this is exactly what the Avengers game should have been. Like, focus on one, if you want to focus on one character, but like have them coming in as like your moves and stuff. So good. What a good game.
That was amazing. I loved. I've been playing a little more of that, and it's been so good. I totally reflect exactly what you're saying. It's just a beautiful game to get into, and it's fun. It's colorful. It's like the Rocket throws up a HUD to keep score on what you're doing. Like, it always keeps like it's little mini interesting things that always keeps it like fresh and makes me want to keep going, sort of thing.
Which is a shame that Square Enix came out and they're like, oh, we weren't happy with the sales of the game. But like they could have added, like if you want to come out and say that, fine, but you should add also, but we're also super proud of the game and like the actual work. And
I was honestly surprised they weren't praising their team for the game that they made.
Yeah, like you guys...
Sure, it might not hit your goals, but it's still an amazing game. And like on Game Pass, I guarantee you it's hitting your goals now.
Yeah, like, and it's your best product in years. Like, it's better than anything. It's probably that and like Final Fantasy 14 Online are their like best products. Everything else is trash that comes out of that company right now. It's sad because like look at Adventures, look at even the last Final Fantasy. I really have high hopes for Final Fantasy 16. Too bad it's a PlayStation exclusive, at least for 2 years. But then again, I don't think we'll ever get 7 remake, or we'll get a huge surprise next month. Phil?
Maybe it'll come on Game Pass.
That'll be the 2-year mark at that point. So you never know. They'll be like, oh, you thought PlayStation Plus, Extreme was cool? Whatever. But we'll get further into that too. So Guardians of the Galaxy have been really good. Also playing a lot more Sentry, Age of Ashes has been really good. Just kind of get my flow into that, no pun intended. But that game is just so good. I haven't been into like an aerial combat game since probably Crimson Skies, to be honest. But this one is scratching an itch, and it's just so good. I got into this one match where I was just like in the like canyon areas, and that's where I was just like hunting motherfuckers like down there. And anyone who came in and they're getting chased, I would just like come in and just like take them out with them. That game is just so good. Or like learning like strategic parts to put like your mines for the other classes. Like if you get like a shield, put a mine where the shields are and stuff. Like there's just like little areas where, because if usually later in the game, like if people are going for shields, they're using them as like little health packs because they can't find health. So you can rock them as soon as they get like a shield. So that game is so good, and it's actually in the top 5 of most played free games right now. So I think they're number 3 right now, if you can believe it. So congrats! Like even though
seriously,
I feel like no one's talking about you, people seem to be playing it and staying. Which is
and
good.
It was fun doing like combos together and everything too. Like I had you, like we were flying together, and like I dropped some mines at the door, and like you flew a whole bunch of gas in into their like collection area. So they gotta fly through all that stuff and take a bunch of damage just to get in.
Oh yeah, when they're like when we were playing the gold. What's that game mode called? Like it's
Horde collection or something, or
yeah, something where you basically you fight these NPCs that have gold attached to them, and you collect the
big
gold, but you
dragons.
can but you can also see other players, and they can see how much gold you have, so you become like a huge target the more gold you keep. And
Yep.
if you want to kind of risk staying out there, so that game has a really kind of cool like risk reward, and because of the speed of the game, I feel like a game mode like that works really well, actually, where you have to kind of like fly out there and like collect a bunch of stuff and then like come back to base. But the game has an incredible sense of speed.
The stamina system's really smart too. Like I like that it gives you that extra layer of like you're not just constantly zooming around and just trying to take out enemies. It's like you also got to keep track of your stamina, because if you don't have stamina, you can't fly faster. You fly slow, and you become a very easy target then. So you got to keep flying low, keep taking high roads. You're never just following a person too much, because you really can't. Like,
And the game's rewarding. Like for a free-to-play game, they have interesting quests you can do. You can unlock these keys every other day, and when you get like 7 keys, you get like an egg, an armor piece, in-game currency, more. Like there's 2 in-game currencies. There's red crystals and like silver coins.
Yep.
So there's actually like a way, they give you a clear way to get that currency for free without paying money. And the store seems to update quite a bit. There's tons of dragons. Every dragon has a lore. If you see a dragon in the game you're playing, you unlock like their profile in like your codex.
Yeah.
So you can see,
I noticed
like,
that.
Yeah, I'm like Halo. Like,
yeah. This is the way like online should be. Yeah.
Yeah. And they even like tweaked some stuff today, and they're going to be dropping some new game modes and new heroes soon. So they are
nice.
I think they feel the attention on them right now from at least the community, maybe not the press standpoint, but their player base. So you got to feed that beast. No pun intended.
And it's cool. Even like the dragon hatching system in that is cool, because like you get like a little egg, and then you have to like complete certain goals just to like level up the egg. So you can decide, do I want to like work on leveling up my egg, or do I want to work on like getting my guy some experience and everything? So it really breaks it up and makes it more interesting. Because once you fully grow that dragon, then you got a new dragon to ride.
Yeah, no, it's a really cool online game. I just wish you'd I wish, and this is something we might get in the future, and kind of part of our first topic, but because it is a free-to-play game and not part of GamePass technically, you can't play it through the cloud, but Microsoft has officially unveiled its Xbox Game Studio Publishing Cloud Division. It's a division head up by Kim Swift, one of the creators actually of Portal. She made this game Quantum Conundrum as well. Was hired obviously by Valve and was one of the people who was heading up Google Stadia as well. So she's definitely mingled in this whole, at least for the last probably like 5 years of her career, has been dealing with more of cloud-based computing and developing. So she'll be heading up this division with Xbox, and this sounds actually pretty exciting, especially for one, there's a global chip shortage. There's wars breaking out everywhere. Supply is not going to get easier. And for an indie developer, being able to develop your game, on a high-end PC that's in the cloud, because that's kind of the structure you'll be working around, is really exciting. What do you think about this whole new division headed up by Kim Swift?
I think it's honestly been a long time coming. Like it should have been here probably earlier, and I'm sure it was here and just in the works and everything, because I'm sure there's a lot of paperwork to work out when you're opening an entire division and everything as well. So I'm just glad to see it's finally here, and they're working on it, and they're finally doing exactly like we were talking about, like taking use of those Azure servers and all the systems they've set up now and xCloud and everything. They built like an amazing service. Like, I can't wait to see what games they come out with, like especially like just cloud-based.
Well, yeah, I can attest. I use their cloud Game Pass more than just streaming. Like, I can stream my console to my phone, but I tend to not do that. I actually just use their cloud computing from their servers, and it just shows that it works really good. And that's really exciting because I feel like the proof is already in front of us with how good the latency is there. So if they can develop games that use portions of the cloud computing to, let's say, to do the physics or the lighting of a game or the weather effects, where they can offshoot things like that. Remember years ago when they were showing Crackdown 3 and they're like, oh, like, here's the city, and the city was in like grids. They were showing like different colors, and each one of these colors represented different districts, but also different servers. And they were showing that, you know, you can knock a building down, and it's all being processed through cloud physics rendering. They even showed like there's really interesting tech demos on YouTube that will be like, oh, look at we have the latest hardware right in front of us, and let's blow up this building all in real time, like super physics based. This is crazy simulation going on. And it just chugs, goes down to like 3 frames per second. They're like, okay, let's do the same thing, but now through our cloud computing off our server that is like a supercomputer. And it's just perfect.
Yeah, does it.
Yeah. So what do you think, is that kind of the interesting thing, is that almost like maybe every game can have ray tracing in the future? Like,
I feel like a long time ago there was like, it's basically just like a laughable notion that like, oh, you could just take one computer and another computer and you just hook them up together and now they're twice as fast. And it's like, that's not quite how computers work and everything. Like, that's ridiculous. And we're actually getting to the point where that's possible. And like, you can just like, have it compute different parts of the environment or whatever. I'm sure there's still a lot of work to get that done and get that like working properly. But if it's in the same server room and you're doing just like the cloud streaming, then it's a lot simpler than it would be just like trying to use your Xbox for some of it and continue on that way and like, connect to the server and then start computing that, because the latency between the two can be negated as much as possible, but it's going to be faster, I would think anyways, going directly from the server, running all of the game, and then just streaming you basically like the video to it and streaming your controls back to that.
Yeah, and I'm sorry if I sound stuffed up. I'm a little stuffed up in my nose, but I feel like that combination of it almost complementing a game in a sense will be very interesting to see. I'm excited to see what the future kind of holds in that and the kind of first examples of that kind of going forward. I'm sure there are examples like I would say a great example that exists today is Flight Simulator, the new one.
Yep.
The world is streamed to you through the satellite mapping. So that is essentially the game runs on your hardware, but the cloud computing is complementing the game. So that is a real working example of that today. So to see that kind of in an open world game, like maybe even the next Grand Theft Auto, the fact that this technology will be open source, or not open source, but open to developers to use. Like imagine Grand Theft Auto 6 using this for not maybe, let's say, their single player game, but Grand Theft Auto Online, where like maybe all the physics is based through cloud computing, and they can really make the world like super detailed because they don't have to like worry about that extra processing on everyone's console or everyone's PC. Like they can take the stuff that is usually super taxing on a PC and offshoot that to cloud. But obviously it would come down to where a game will be like, it requires these specs. It will be like, it requires this kind of internet connection. You need Wi-Fi 6 or something like that. So it will be interesting, the future for that. But the bigger networks get, 5G is getting more spread out. Elon Musk's Starlink. So everyone will essentially have internet. The future is online.
Like just having that, like having technology head in that direction, it creates the demand that somebody's got to fill. Like, because one way or another, that's how they make money off it too. So, like, you be that person who's going to be putting in fiber in the neighborhood that doesn't have it. Like, you're going to be the one making the money first.
That's why I'm surprised companies who lay down fiber don't ask more from like huge tech companies. Be like, yo, us getting this internet to people grows your business too. So why don't we all like pitch in and try and like spread internet to more places? I feel like, well, Google, that was their own system, right? But it's exciting. I wonder if Kojima's game is like the first we'll see kind of come out of this, because that was like rumored for a while. Kojima's working on a cloud-based game with, not with Kim Swift, but was in talks with Kim Swift, and so I'm very curious.
I'm excited to see about that.
Yeah, maybe something about that around E3 or something, or maybe even sooner. We might see the fruits of this sooner than we think. I think we're going to have an interesting showing coming up, because I feel like we know so much coming out in 2023. I think we're going to get like an onslaught of games, but now we're going to start seeing kind of stuff like what's past that and what like things like this will bring to the table. So, and Game Pass is spreading to more markets. They just announced, I'm not too sure the list of them, but a couple extra countries it's coming to. So making gaming more accessible is just better. And, even like,
that's for the consumer,
imagine living in a country that, not a first world country, where you can't get like the latest and greatest laptop or something, or just like a high-end PC in general, but you and your friends can maybe hook up to the ID at Xbox program and start using their cloud and make something. It could really change. It could really change development going forward for smaller developers, especially, and just remote working in general. Like cloud is clearly the future, but I think the future does look bright for that division for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But let's talk about possibly another. Well, eventually will be another Game Pass game, but it looks like we got the quarterly update for Diablo IV, and I gotta say this game is looking incredible. With more of a return to form to their art style. This is incredibly dark and moody action RPG. They also talked about how many dungeons there'll be. They have like up to 150 dungeons. They have, they talked about their pillars of approach to their art design. So a lot of cool stuff. Dan, did you see much stuff from the new kind of showcase of Diablo 4? Or have you been
I
paying much
haven't
attention to Diablo 4?
I haven't gotten to check it out too much, but I've enjoyed the previous Diablo games and everything. I haven't had a ton of time to really get into them, but I'm excited with the newest Diablo coming out and knowing enough people now who are into Diablo that I'm gonna try and give it a shot and get in there. Looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, and Rob Ferguson actually is heading up this game right now. So the guy who's been working pretty much on Gears of War forever. So that's what he left the coalition to head up the team who is running Diablo 4. So that's really exciting. But their philosophy or the design pillars they're using for their art design is old masters and return to darkness. So I think that is essentially them saying be dark and grim and look like the old Diablo, more medieval. Diablo 3 kind of went, in my opinion, a little cartoony-ish. Seems like World of Warcraft maybe art style a little too much off on Diablo 3, in my opinion.
I could see that.
I
I've mostly played Diablo 3. I didn't get to play too much of the first two, but yeah, I enjoyed Diablo 3 enough, and it very much reminded me of the Bard's Tale, A Bard's Tale.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. It was very, very similar in gameplay, and that was one of the first experiences I had with a game like that. So.
Well, yeah, there's I feel like there was a ton of games that were so influenced by Diablo on PC, like A Bard's Tale or even some of the Neverwinter Nights, Neverwinter games.
Yep.
But when they first announced Diablo 4 and they showed that trailer of I think her name is Lilith, with the huge demonic cape. Oh man.
And it was dark. That was crazy.
Dark. It was a dark trailer, and I'm like, yeah, this is what I want out of a Diablo
unsure if
game.
You're watching a cutscene or a horror movie. It's cool.
Yeah. Well, especially now that Microsoft's going to own Blizzard, they're going to have that that CGI art house under them. Yeah. So that will be nice to have. But this game, I don't know how long. It seems like every time I see it, it looks pretty far along at least. Or they must, there's always that point in development where things kind of just start snapping into place and coming together. So I'm curious if it will be sooner rather than later, and if this deal can complete with Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard. This game could either launch on Game Pass or be out on Game Pass soon after. But we know it's coming.
Oh, yeah.
And that's really exciting.
Yeah, and it's always that loads of cleanup, I'm sure, that you got to take care of. You got to do all the testing and running through every nook and cranny and finding where you get stuck and don't get stuck and fixing all those little things and doing that forever afterwards and bugs and patches.
Well, yeah, and this game usually has, people still play Diablo 3, and they still come out with seasons for that game, so this game is going to have long legs, but I hope it doesn't have as rocky as a launch as, let's say, Diablo 3. It really kind of came together almost 6 months to a year into its release.
Yeah.
So I hope people like Rob Ferguson can kind of get those studios back on track. And I hope the leadership at Microsoft can really change Activision and Blizzard. But it seems, at least for the better part of a couple years, a lot of people from Microsoft has been running Blizzard. And it seems like those are the people who are kind of have been bettering the place, like Mike Ibarra and Rob Ferguson. So I hope big things for the future of Blizzard. Diablo 4 looks good. I'm looking forward to their survival game and Overwatch. And apparently we're going to be hearing news about Warcraft soon. So a lot of good things, and it seems like they really have streamlined whatever engine they're using with their environments. They said they have more tile-based. They can be a little bit more procedural with it. So I hope it's good. I really enjoy the Diablo games, and they're a great co-op game. But that was kind of just like the little bit of news. There wasn't much news besides kind of like the big one we're going to talk about. And this is stuff we've kind of talked about before. But Sony has finally showed off their answer to Game Pass, and they are just rebranding PlayStation Plus. So it's just PlayStation Plus with different tiers attached to it. And to be honest, this makes Game Pass look really good. But Dan, do you want to kind of go through these tiers?
Yeah.
It seems like most of the rumors we talked about were true.
And I'm honestly surprised that they didn't rename it at all. Like, I feel like PlayStation Plus was like starting to feel lackluster for a lot of people, and they just kind of stuck with it anyways. But take a look here. So yeah, Sony finally showed off the answer to PlayStation, or to Game Pass, PlayStation Plus. We got PlayStation Plus Essential, which is $60 per year with the same perks and including the free games each month, cloud storage, online multiplayer, and discounts during the select sales. PlayStation Plus
just
Extra.
PlayStation.
Yeah, exactly. PlayStation Plus Extra is going to be $15 per month or $100 per year, and features up to 400 PS4 and PS5 games. Sony's description of the extra tier is a bit vague, but subscribers will be able to download the games in the library to their console to play, and it'll include both first-party and third-party games. And the PlayStation Plus Premium is going to be their top tier there. You get up to 340 additional games versus the extra tier. PlayStation Plus Premium will cost $18 per month, so a little more than Game Pass. Yeah, and or $120 per year. The premium tier's additional games appear to largely focus on PlayStation back catalog with the original PlayStation, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and PSP games available to play. PS3 games will be locked to cloud streaming because, of course, the compatibility issues I think they had back then. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with those. I'm surprised that it's honestly going to be more expensive for just the back catalog of stuff. Like, back catalog games are great and all, but like most people who love them enough to keep replaying them have an old console or an old, way to play them.
Yeah. I'm surprised they renamed the first tier to PlayStation Plus Essential. Like, what's the point of that? Like, why don't you just call it PlayStation Plus? And then the next one, PlayStation Plus Extra.
Yeah.
Or that would have been even a better one. PlayStation Plus Essential would have been, like, to make the next tier be like, oh, but it's essential. Like, they tell me that the second tier is essential.
Get the extra games and everything. Get the free games per month. Get the cloud storage and everything.
Yeah, cloud storage being locked behind a paywall is outrageous, but this doesn't seem that great. And the fact that they're like, okay, so the PlayStation Plus Extra, the $15 tier, we'll call that the main tier that kind of competes with Game Pass.
Game Pass.
So let's stack it up. They're pretty much the same in the fact that they both give you access to online play. They both give you access to like their games with gold, the 2 free games per month. I would say PlayStation does lead the pack there for sure. And then it gives you access to their library of games like in Game Pass. But it seems like with how they advertise them, it's just like, here's a game library. They don't really talk about how it expands. Is like just the 2 games they come out with per month. is that going to be like how they expand it? And they don't even like get into the fact that, we could potentially have day one releases like they just did with Shadow Warrior 3. So I feel like with the release of Shadow Warrior 3, they could have been like, with third party, day one release, or been like, hey, our PlayStation games will come out 1 year to the date onto this service. But it just makes Game Pass look really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I'm not sure how many games are on Game Pass currently, but, like, the rotation is...
almost like 400, I think.
Yeah, I think close to that. But yeah, it's good to see either way. And I mean, I guess a few of them are Xbox 360 games and everything too, but I like the rotation. I mean, I've never had... Well, I've had some games leave that I'm like, I would have liked to maybe play those, but I just know I don't have time. Like, it's never been that big of a worry for me. Like, it's always like, sweet, new content. Like, whenever I am bored and I want something to play, there's something new there to drop into and check out.
Yeah.
Right?
And I would say a majority of the games that release on Game Pass are pretty much day one these days, especially for indies. So essentially, the fact that they couldn't even like say potential day one release, let's say even that like wording, it just seems like it seems like here's access just to an old game library where I would imagine a majority of these hardcore fans who will buy into the service will probably already own half the stuff that's on there. The thing that makes Game Pass so appealing is, and the reason why you guys all say we don't buy games anymore is because we don't have to, because new games come out onto that service day one, or maybe 3 to 5 months later, like Guardians of the Galaxy is a great example. The fact that MLB The Show, which is made by Sony, will be on Game Pass day one and not on their subscription service day one says a lot. Like, that says so much, in my opinion.
I feel like Sony wasn't planning this out for long enough. Like, I feel like it was very much reactionary to Game Pass and how well Game Pass is doing. And they didn't put enough thought really into it to be like, oh, geez, like, we got to have this here. We got to have, like, a good competing service. They've just like, no, we can do the same stuff. I mean, I've always kind of felt like Sony kind of does that in the past too. Like, the Nintendo comes out with the like Wii controllers and everything, and then suddenly PlayStation has PlayStation Move.
Yeah. Well, you never know. They could later down the line say our games will be day one on this service, like on our Platinum service.
Yeah.
Eventually, I don't think when Game Pass first came out, I don't think Microsoft games were for sure coming out day and date. I think they announced that like almost 6 months into Game Pass coming out. And when they did announce that, I remember I was like, oh, Game Pass is 100% worth it then at that point.
Oh, yeah. And I think it's going to be like a relevance like tactic sort of thing. Like, release this information now. In a couple of weeks, be like, oh, hey, we're going to have day one releases, and these are going to be like, here's a teaser of like maybe 1 or 2 or something.
For real. One thing that's shocking is that their highest tier, this PlayStation Plus Platinum, that gives them essentially access to our premium. That gives them access to like essentially just legacy games.
Yeah.
Is more expensive than Ultimate.
Yeah. And I don't think you can play it. Yeah, you're not going to be able to play them on like PC and everything too until they can come up with something for that if they do. But like it seems weird to me that they didn't put that like on the bottom tier, like the older games and everything have them as like PlayStation Plus, like, or just PlayStation Plus, and then PlayStation Plus Essential. Like, PlayStation Plus could be like the older games, then the Essential games, then the Plus Extra, and then the Premium. You get everything.
Man, if premium was like day one releases of Sony made developed games, then everyone would go for premium. I don't even think anyone is even gonna like. Why would anyone even go past essential at this point? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anything is gonna change. I feel like people had the option already for just PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, and people will just continue with PlayStation Plus Essential now.
Yeah.
This is just, it's weak. It's so weak. And it was such a womp announcement. Like, it came out like a wet fart, to be honest. Like,
well, at the very
but
least, I mean, it's good for us consumers. I mean, it's competition, so it's going to keep
yeah,
each side trying to improve and get better at whatever they're doing and be the best service they can be. So it's better for us, right? So
yeah, I look at it as well, people compare like the PlayStation games to like, oh, it's like going to like a blockbuster movie, and like Xbox is like a straight to like DVD release here and there. Well, I look at their services, our service is like a blockbuster movie, and theirs is like a straight to DVD movie. Like, their service is weak.
yeah. Honestly, are they going to have like an answer to like Microsoft rewards? Like
Well, yeah.
I just dropped an extra $20 like off my cost of Tiny Tina's because I just had some Microsoft points sitting there just from using Bing every now and again.
Yeah, you can say the incentive Microsoft gives you to do things like the Quest system that gives you points. So these Microsoft points that you get, you can convert them into real gift cards for real money, like Best Buy gift cards or a gift card for the Microsoft store or even restaurants. It's outrageous. It's absolutely incredible. Like, for kids out there, if you don't have a lot of money, you and your friends can team up, and you can gift points to people. You guys can farm points hard. If my kids were a little older and they're like, I want this game coming out probably at the end of this year, I'm like, cool. If you can farm over 50% of that game cost, I will pay for the rest. Like, that would be how I would do it. I'd be like, if you can get half the cost through farming those points, I will pay the rest of that game easily every single time. And the fact that people can even do that is fucking awesome. Like, I'm almost at $30.
It's all
right
like family friendly stuff too and everything, right? Like, there's little quizzes that are just like, oh, you learn about stuff. You don't really have to actually know any of the answers either, because you just go through until you get the right answer, and then you find out that information. It takes you to a Bing search page that just helps improve their search engine and everything. That's part of the reason I think why Bing has been improving the way it has been. I never thought I would be saying like, oh yeah, Bing's actually all right. I'm using it all the time now. I use it for work because I like the Edge browser more now, and like, Microsoft's doing a pretty good job. I don't know. I appreciate
also
it. Also,
the perk system. So like that Sentry Age of Ashes, there was a perk there. I got a skin for the Marauder class and some coins and stuff. They gave Paramount Plus a whole month of that for free. So when Halo is done, I will redeem that and watch all of Halo easily and determine if I want Dan to continue to pay it and for me to use it.
Heck yeah.
But like, just like perks, like there's Crunchyroll perks. I got a half a season of an anime on there that they just like gave me for free. Like, there's just so many like little things. Like, go through the perk list. There's legit things. There's a half a season of an anime that you can get for free.
Oh, and kind of unrelated and everything, but for whoever is listening and hasn't heard about it, DC Universe Infinite just came out in Canada on app form and everything, so now you can get your comic read on. I've been enjoying that.
And you gotta Maybe you gotta share me that account.
Yeah. The only I'll share it with you, and only hard part is there isn't different like accounts you can have on there, but you can have lists of comics. So you could create your own sort of list thing, and that's how we've been sharing it around the house anyways.
So you can go through the list and be like, oh, they're going this direction. Barf. Yeah, DC's been... There's still some great stuff. Grant Morrison's still the shit.
Yeah. I'm catching up on those Dark Knight's Metal comics with Batman and everything. Those are cool as hell, and I didn't get to do enough of those just yet.
Yeah, Greg Capullo stuff is amazing. So, and just like going back and just like catching up on just like all the Earth 2 stuff, I think on there is pretty good too. So there's a lot of good stuff, and they added a perk, I'm pretty sure, where you can get the Marvel equivalent through the Game Pass perk system as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Comixology,
this whole reamp of PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus is very uninspired. You've been watching essentially Game Pass destroying it out there, and a great example for you guys to follow, but yet you're just not doing it. You guys offer the fact that that was weird. Am I going crazy? The fact that they own Crunchyroll and Funimation, and that's not like bundled in one of these things is crazy. Like there's just no incentive to go past Essential, in my opinion. So we will see. Hopefully they show something really cool in the end, but we'll find out. But I don't know. There is a lot of things that Sony could steal from what Xbox is doing, but they just don't. Like, they need to steal the perk system. They need to steal the point system. So I hope something more comes out to it. It looks like we lost you there, Dan.
Yeah, sorry.
Don't worry.
Discord crashed for a second. There we go.
We gotta love Discord.
Back. Yeah, right? Yeah, we gotta try out the recommendation the Boomstick gave us and get that running maybe for next week.
Yeah, Craig was saying SteamYard is the way to go, so maybe we'll try that. But it does cost money, so... But yeah, I am not excited for this. Doesn't make me want to buy a PlayStation 5. Yeah, if they said, hey, our first-party games are coming to this service day one, I'd be like, maybe I should buy a PlayStation 5 so I can just at least have an opinion of the other side. Because, like, buying a PlayStation 5, it's like buy a PlayStation 5 and spend $100 on, like, a game. Like, I'm sorry.
Did they even mention anything about, like, having it as like a trial service too or anything? Like, I mean, you can upgrade to like Game Pass for $1, like Game Pass Ultimate for $1.
Well, that's one thing I think I forgot. The premium, they're going to have game demos attached to that. So you'll be able to, like, game trials. But, like, that's not good enough. Like, and the fact that you're going to hide, like, game trials behind premium tier, I feel like game trials should just be just there in general. Like, I shouldn't have to buy a game to determine if I want to determine if I like it or not. Like, you should, like, at least give me, like, a half an hour or an hour or 45 minutes, just like cut it off. So like, just like give me a taste and be like, do you want to continue? Press X to like purchase it. I think every Xbox Live Arcade game on 360 did that. So I don't know why.
It was beautiful when they did that. I don't know why they haven't continued that, but.
Oh, and they'll just, Microsoft will be like, oh, we just do it for nothing on Xbox now.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
There's a
But
few
they do
things
like
they've
the free
done.
weekends.
It's like here,
Well, they
yeah,
do
the free weekends are good. That's
yeah.
true.
So you can say they almost do something similar, like free game trials. They do the free weekends and whatnot, but
I
it's
feel
not
like they need
timed.
to like display the free weekends more prominently on the screen though, because like my only problem was like I found out that there was like Far Cry 6
Yeah.
demo, yeah, like free weekend, and like just a little too late because I didn't have time by then to really like plan out and make some time to play it, but. It was
Apparently,
amazing
people
that they
have
had that on
beaten
there.
some games on the free weekend too.
Yeah.
Or they're like, "Oh, I just smashed through the game and they let me play it all weekend for free."
Yeah.
Like, that's awesome.
Right? What I would have given when I had free weekends and everything to just be like, oh, yeah, no, you get a free game this entire weekend. Like, okay, well, I'm going to crush that game.
Well, I would love if they came out with, like, let me rent a game. Like, the fact that I can rent a movie on there, but I can't rent a game. Like, imagine a company, they're like, okay, rent the game for a weekend. You spent $10 and you're like, fuck, you know what? I really like this game. I'm going to buy it. You just made an extra $10 off that guy.
Even if you came out with the rentals like 6 months out or a year out or something.
Yeah.
Like
why don't
like
you?
that. I'm surprised they haven't gotten into that yet.
Yeah, every game I should be able to rent. I should be able to rent a game. Because, like, I'm sorry, like, I don't want to own everything. I yearn for those days of going to Blockbuster and being like, I want to play you for a week.
Yeah, I'm going to try you out. Yeah.
Exactly. It just makes something that, especially in today's age, almost unattainable, like $100 on the game. Like, thank God we can offset it with the Microsoft points and maybe shave $30 off it and bring it back down to something that we used to pay for. But the fact that I can't even, like, I would rent Elden Ring right now just to know if I want to buy it. Like, I'm so tempted to just buy Elden Ring, but I'm so afraid that I'm not going to like Elden Ring at the same time. Right?
Yep.
So I would love to spend like 20, even up to $20 to rent the game for a weekend just to see if I do like it, and then take it away from me. You just made $20. And if I want to buy it, I can do it. Or if I want to rent it again, you just got another $20 from me. But
exactly,
at least you got something from me instead of nothing.
Right.
So
that's just it. It's like
your Microsoft points to rent.
I have to plan out pretty carefully when I have like the money for a full new game because they're expensive. They're crazy expensive. Like when I have $20, like I could have $20 and still have money to go do stuff with the kids and go do, like, I can rent a game for that if I could. Like, rented movies and everything too, you know? Like, it's sometimes just a more convenient service. But,
well, yeah, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like at that point, like if you're renting something, you can almost plan out your time a little bit more. You're like, okay, I'm renting the Guardians of the Galaxy this weekend. I want to beat it. So I am actually going to play it for a substantial amount of time today, honey. I'm sorry.
Right?
But yeah, renting, I know this went from talking about PlayStation to ranting about bringing back renting. Renting needs to come back. Yeah. Oh man, like if one of their tiers was like we'd let you rent brand new games, I'd be like, that's kind of cool. But then you'd put renting behind a paywall. It's like,
but it just reminds me of scene in Brooklyn Nine-Nine when Jake ends up getting like a box. He's like, oh yeah, my uncle died or whatever, and left me some shares to Blockbuster. Like, what happened to Blockbuster, guys? I still have my card. It's still open, right? Right, guys?
And the fact that more things are switching to cloud, imagine the rental was just cloud-based. So they are like, we can actually cut you off, you know? Like, you don't have, like, a chance to download the file and then like pirate, because the whole thing is they're super afraid about piracy, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like with this cloud future, to kind of loop it back to the first topic, with this cloud future, we could possibly bring the renting future back. So all I know is at the end of this conversation, I want to be able to rent games.
Yeah.
And I have no desire for this PlayStation tier approach for their just convoluted in the naming. It's just
that's just it. It's and it makes sense cloud wise because then you don't have to download the entire game. Like that's why demos were so bite sized before. But the problem with demos is you gotta go in and like set them up to just be demos. They're their own separate thing, really. When you can just cut off a game like you're talking about, it makes it super easy and convenient. They just have to have it on xCloud. Okay, you can run it for this timer, and then you get cut off. You need a new account or something, and you'll need to set up a whole new character and do it all over again.
Well, I think eventually everything will be accessible through cloud streaming, especially with that new division coming up. They're eventually going to have to announce the fact that you'd be able to play all your games, not just the ones on Game Pass, through the cloud. So, but in the end, kind of loop back to the actual topic, this PlayStation Plus tier system makes Xbox Game Pass look really, really good in comparison to them. And it just doesn't hold a candle to that. So you guys had your shot and you missed it, in my opinion. And Microsoft can respond to this announcement with something that just totally blows them out of the water. So future looks great for Game Pass. Not so much for PlayStation. I guess PlayStation Plus, we'll just call it. Yeah. So what do you think? Any closing thoughts on that?
Not too much. I think we've covered pretty much all of it. It's just it's interesting, but we'll have to get more information, see what kind of games they're getting, see if they are getting any exclusives, and see how they're really going to compete with Xbox. I think this is really just to gauge the audience on it too. It's like, this is what we can offer right now. We're probably going to have to rework it, but it's like a negotiation, right? They're kind of treating it as here you go. This is what we got. What do you guys want? Is this okay? Are you going to buy it? Will you buy it?
Yeah, we'll see. But I heard a lot of people saying it was going to have this and that and day one releases, and it just shows that no one knows nothing. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much all we have to say about the PlayStation Plus. We'll call it the PlayStation Plus debacle right now. But Dan, take us home, please.
Yeah. Don't forget to smack that subscribe button on our YouTube page and tippity-tap that like button. You can comment on our beautiful voices. We're also on Reddit and Instagram. Just take a look for Xbox North Podcast. Find us audio only on Spotify and Google Podcast. Just search relentlessly for Xbox North Podcast. And for Twitter, @NorthXbox, because why would we make it easy for you?
There you go. All right. And we were supposed to have the Wandering Dutch on this week, but he was sadly sick. And you know what? And I specifically told him not to get sick on his live stream. And he promised me he wouldn't, and he didn't even listen to me. So, but he will be with us next week. So looking forward to seeing him with us. All right. Have a good night, guys.
Night.